Hey guys, welcome back to my show. I have some great news for you all. So let me just announce that first, and then I'll tell you what we're going to be doing today. So first of all, let me give you the good news. The good news is that I've hit 1,000 plus views on my show, and I'm really happy for that. Thank you all for listening and supporting my show. In case you want me to do any fun new episodes, in case you want me to do something special for the next few episodes, you may tell me what kind of topic you want me to discuss in the next episode or following episodes by clicking on the voice message button on the top right corner of my profile to contact me and tell me what you want me to do next. Okay, anyways, that was the good news. Now let me tell you what we're going to be doing today. Today I'm going to tell you how to write a children's book. So let's start. First of all, when you're coming up with a children's book, you have to know what is your idea behind writing a children's book. Are you the right person to write a children's book? Do you have enough experiences to write a children's book? And what is the purpose behind it? You need to know all of these answers, then only can you write a good children's book. Now, when you're thinking of children's books, there should always be a moral theme, a theme or a main storyline your book follows. An example would be like in Charlotte's Web. It's about a pig who's rescued by a spider, and it shows the power of friendship. And that is the theme. Friendship is the theme of Charlotte's Web. In a similar way, you as an author or a writer have to make sure that you have a theme revolving around your whole storyline of your children's book. You need to have a strong theme which is being used throughout the book or novel or story. Now, the second thing is that you have to make sure you know who your target audience is, because children's books are not just children's books. There are many categories in the children's genre. There's picture books, early readers, middle grade, young adult, and then after that it's actually adults. So now you may be wondering, why am I saying young adult? It's still in the kids category. Well, it's because that's in the 13 to 18 range, which is still considered as a children's book category, but it's called young adult, which is the younger version of an adult. Now, let me tell you more about the children's book market area and how you classify them into age groups. Now, as you all will be understanding, picture books are mostly for ages 0 to 6, but they can vary depending on what kind of reader you are. What kind of reader your audience is. Picture books, as you can say by the name, is consisting mostly of pictures and few short words in between. These books are pretty much for babies and toddlers, but board books are more for them, but they can also read picture books, like if their parents read them for them. Picture books and board books are 500 words or fewer, but all picture books, they still need to have like the strong theme senses so that they don't they make sense and they don't feel like, obviously when you're writing to a little kid, it doesn't really have to make sense. At least that's what many people think. But just remember, when you're writing for a little kid, you need to make sure you actually keep it having a strong story to entertain the kid. It's actually not easy to write. Some example of classical picture books is The Very Hungry Caterpillar by Anika and Green Eggs and Ham by Dr. Seuss. Now the next one we have is the chapter books, which is for ages 7 to 9. Okay, now chapter books is mostly like read in a series. Chapter books are not just for ages 7 to 9 actually. Well, all ages can read it if they want to. Some examples of chapter books would be Junie B. Jones by Barbara Park, and The Magic Tree House by Mary Pope Osborne, Diary of a Wimpy Kid by Jeff Kinney, and many more chapter books are there. Now, middle grade, as I may have told you in previous episodes, middle grade books and novels, they are for ages 8 to 12. They're kind of like chapter books, but they do not have pictures. They do not have pictures, illustrations, or any of those sort of things, but they do have a lot of words in it, precisely around 30,000 to 50,000 words. But if it's a fantasy, then it's more. Now, some examples of middle grade fiction would be Charlie and the Chocolate Factory by Roald Dahl, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling, and Percy Jackson and the Olympians by Rick Riordan. Now comes the young adult category. I'm gonna keep this description very short because we're not really talking about young adult here, but young adult is for ages 12 to 18, but it is more recommended for children aged 13 to 18 for reading these books. Now, these young adults fall between 50,000 to 100,000 words, and some examples of young adult books would be Fault in Our Stars by John Green and The Hunger Games by Susan Collins. Now, the third thing is, remember that whenever you're writing a children's book, you need to make sure you have a distinct voice. And by that you mean you have to have unique vocabulary and have to have a lot of repetition, especially if you're writing a pictures book. You need to have rhyme. For example, speaking of Dr. Seuss, you need to consider rhyming your children's book most of the time. But if you don't want to do that, it's fine, because that's how people think that. For example, there are many exceptions, of course, like many authors do not want to write in rhyme, or they don't know how to write in rhyme, but that's fine. You can write in whichever way you want to write. Okay, now my next step would be to create memorable characters, because you sure do want your audience, which is any kid, to say, I wish that character was real. That means that they actually love it so much they want it to be real. Now, when talking about these kind of characters, to create a memorable character, you need to make sure it has the character's flaws and strengths and all kinds of things. Not just strengths, but also flaws. Some examples of iconic children's book characters would be Matilda, Harry Potter, Cat in the Hat, Pippi Longstockings, and so on. Now, remember that, let me just tell you this, that it's that an 8-year-old protagonist, think Ramona Quimbley, will not attract someone older than 8, but will attract children below the age of 8. Whereas an 11-year-old protagonist will appeal to readers from the age of 9, because it's in the mid-range of middle grade. Now, if you want to make sure that the child is engaged reading your story, you need to write about something you want to write about. You need to make sure it's good and not something you don't want to write. You need to thoughtfully explore the theme and make sure you're interpreting it very well inside it. And then maybe try to entertain the adults as well, because your book is not a children's book if you can't entertain the adults as well. This is quoted by C.S. Lewis, of course. And my last thing would be to keep reading in your genre, or whatever genre you're trying to write. not just for children's book, but for every book you try to write. You should always try reading that genre to get some ideas on like how people do it. Personally, even I do that. Like I write middle grade fantasy novels. So currently I'm writing middle grade fantasy. So what I do is I read all the fantasy novels I can read, or I read about all the books which are similar to mine, and then I try doing that. Now that was that. So yeah, that was how you write a children's book. I hope you all had fun, and I thank you all for listening. Anyways, that's it for today. Thank you all. Bye.